YouTube, welcome from my stoep. I made a video on Paul Kruger, Paul Kruger as we would say, in I think it was about 2014, and I just thought of making a follow-up video today after I've seen another video on Oom Paul from someone else not being a South African. So I thought it might be a good idea to make a video as a South African about Paul Kruger and a little bit of history about him. When I made it in 2014, I made it because I saw a video at that stage of a very negative view of Paul Kruger. So I then concentrated on the fact that, judged by the time, he was a very prolific person. Judged by today, you might think, he was not that good of a person. So the point is that it's always important to judge someone in terms of his time. And this Black Lives Matter issue is a very good point in time. Many of the writers of the Constitution of America was also in the time. They were very prolific and important people. Now you might look back and you say, but they were slave owners or whatever you might say about them. So the point is, whenever you judge historic figures, it's important to judge them in the time that they were acting, because that obviously plays a role in terms of their importance and what they did. So the same applies to Paul Kruger. Paul Kruger was a leader of the South African Republic, which was at that time just the Republic of Transvaal, or in the Dutch word for it was the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek. That's also why we are called ZAR, or our abbreviation, our international abbreviation is ZAR, and also our exchange currency is called ZAR, because of that link of the 1980s, early 1990s of the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republic. Now, just a little bit background. So Cape Town, or South Africa, or no, let me start with the Cape Colony was annexed by the British in twice. The first time was in early 1800s, after the Dutch created a colony. Actually, only a post when they went to the East Indian for spices. That's why it was also called the East Indian Company. So originally, in 1652, the Dutch formed a post in the Cape Colony for this traveling around the Cape to the East India for the spices. So after the Dutch were here, the British, in the part of the colonization, they colonized the Cape Colony. And in 1836, a lot of the inhabitants and the Afrikaners and the population that grew since 1652, by the way, in that span of time, there were a lot of French Huguenots that came here, there were a lot of Dutch people that came here, there were a lot of Scottish people that came here. So that's why we've got a very mixed origin of European cultures. So in 1836, the predominant Afrikaners or Boers who were not happy with the Cape Colony and the British rule started tracking northwards to, in their sense, territory that was not yet known for a lot of reasons and for a lot of people. So we call it the Groot Trek, the Great Trek, 1836. They moved up. Some went to the Natal, currently Natal, which is KwaZulu-Natal. Some settled in the Free State. Some settled in Transvaal, which is nowadays Gauteng and Limpopo, and some even went further, like Zimbabwe and Botswana and further north. But mainly, a lot of them settled in those areas and started farming and settled in terms of a life. So the Free State, which is Bloemfontein area in the central of South Africa, got independence, as well as South Africa, which was recognized by the British government at the point. So that was independent republics that was recognized. Then there was a first South African war, or a Boer War in 1880 to 1881, and after that it was also established that the South African Republic was then recognized as an independent country. But then came the gold rush. So they found gold in Gauteng, in Johannesburg, and there was an absolute gold rush. And mostly Cecil John Rhodes was the big drive behind it to start annexing, what's the word? I don't know. To start capturing Gauteng, or he wanted to, because of the gold rush. So that's where the Second Boer War, or the worldwide known Anglo-Boer War, which was actually the second one, but the first one was only a year, and the Boer won that one. So the second one started in 1896 or 7 around, and that was a vicious war. The British soldiers thought it would be over in just a few minutes, but unfortunately it lasted for about 4 or 5 years. So much so that the only way that they could end it was with the scorched earth policy, where they started burning down the farms and captured the women and the children of the Boers that were on the battlefield. Now that's where Paul Kruger came in. So Paul Kruger was the president of the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republic in that time when it was the Anglo-Boer War. So he tried to convince the British that they were independent and that they recognized it, but obviously it failed. So he went into exile in 1903-4 around, to Switzerland, because at that stage it was the scorched earth policy was really damaging the morale of the Boers, and eventually the British won that war, and we became, or the South African Republic became part of then the Union of South Africa, which then included at that stage the Cape Colony, which was under British rule all the time since the 1800s, KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State, and then Transvaal. And just as a quick note, in 1961, the whole South Africa then also was declared independent from British rule and became the independent country until 1994, when it was then also independence in terms of democratization of everyone. So Paul Kruger was affectionately known as Oom Paul. I know that in the British call it Oom Paul, but Paul, like in Paul Revere, is obviously the way that you would pronounce the word, but in Afrikaans it's like Paul, like a pole vault. So Oom Paul means in Afrikaans Uncle Paul, which is an affectionate term of someone that you respect, and that's an older one. So Oom Paul was also known for the fact that he smoked a pipe and that he also chewed tobacco. And this shape is also then called the Oom Paul, and it's internationally recognized as the Oom Paul shape. Interesting enough that there were a time, that the English did not want to give credit to Oom Paul for the trouble that they had with the Anglo-Boer War. So they called this pipe shape the Hungarian. But nowadays I think it's generally accepted to be known as the Oom Paul shape. It is more than 100 years ago that the Anglo-Boer War was there, so it is now affectionately called the Oom Paul pipe shape. This is a Savinelli, and I've got a GBD in an Oom Paul shape. A lot of people, or I've read that there's quite a few pipe smokers that's not very fond on about the Oom Paul. It's kind of an issue of either you love it or you hate it, because some people say it's difficult to clean. But it's a very, very nice and easy pipe, and it's not difficult to clean, and it's a very, very comfortable cleanser. So you can, because it hangs, it's actually very easy to cleanse and to just let it hang from your mouth. So yeah, so that's the Oom Paul shape. So for my Afrikaans community, I'm going to now switch over to Afrikaans to tell a little bit more about Oom Paul. Nou, meeste van julle ken waarskynlik die geskiedenis van Oom Paul. Maar nie almal weet dat hierdie pypvorm word genoem wêreldwyd die Oom Paul pypvorm of shape nie. So dit is inderdaad die Oom Paul vorm. Daar's iemand vertel my na die dag 'n verhaal van Oom Paul wat blykbaar ook pyp gekou het. En hy vertel van die storie dat Oom Paul blykbaar by iemand gaan kuier het en in daai tyd het mense nou baie keer bakkies gehad waarin jy nou moes jou pruimtabak moes spoeg, en die tannie sit toe nou die bakkie daar neer sodat Oom Paul nou in die bakkie kan spoeg, en elke keer as Oom Paul nou aan sy pruimtabak suig dan en kou daaraan, en dan sien hy dan wil hy nou spoeg, en dan sien hy die bakkie, dan dink hy, o nee, dan spoeg hy na die ander kant toe. Dan staan die tannie maar op en sy vat die bakkie en sy skuif hom na die ander kant toe, en dan Oom Paul nou weer besig met die tweede sarsie, en dan pruim hy die tabak, en dan sien hy die bakkie, en dan draai hy aan die ander kant toe, en spoeg hy weer daar na die ander kant toe, omdat hy nou dink dat hy nou haar guns doen om nie in die bakkie te spoeg nie. En toe sê die tannie staan toe nou op, en skuif hom nou weer hier na die ander kant toe, en so na die derde keer toe sê Oom Paul blykbaar naderhand vir jou tannie, ag nee, magtig man, as die bakkie nou nog weer 'n keer hier staan waar ek wil spoeg, dan gaan ek nou rond toe en hom spoeg. En dit was eintlik die bedoeling geweest van die bakkie al die tyd. So, daar is waarskynlik baie ander stories van Oom Paul, en ek sal graag eintlik nog meer daaroor wil oplees, maar dis so in kort, sommer net iets oor Oom Paul Kruger. Wat my nogal baie keer, ek nie sê pla nie, maar wat vir my nogal vreemd is dat Oom Paul toe uiteindelik Switserland toe is. En dat hy daar, soos hulle nou sê, in ballingskap oorlede is. Vir my voel dit amper asof hy, soos die Engelse sê, jumping ship. Ek voel hy moes hy gebly het deurentyd, tot na die oorlog nou uiteindelik afgehandel is, en die vredesverdrag geteken en alles. Voel vir my die feit dat hy weggehardloop het, Switserland toe, en daar niemand anders dit kon nie, niemand anders het die vermoëns gehad om dit te kon doen. Hulle moes nou maar hier deur worstel met hierdie verskroeide wêreld en aarde, wat elkeen as sy plaas het en moes teruggaan in die konsentrasiekampe. So, ten spyte van al die goeie goed wat ons oor Paul Kruger sekerlik kan dink en kan sê en kan noem, is dit die een ding wat ek nog altyd oorgewonder het. Hoekom het hy jumping ship, hoekom het hy die land verlaat en in ballingskap in Switserland gaan bly, en hy is natuurlik dood omtrent op 70 plus ouderdom. Sy oorskot is later teruggebring en hier begrawe in die Helde Akker, en ons ken nou die res van die geskiedenis met die standbeeld en alles, maar dis vir my so 'n bietjie van 'n skadikol van Oom Paul Kruger. En ons kan nou nie sê, hy het iets geweet wat die ander nie geweet het nie, want ons het nou die voorreg om terug te kyk in geskiedenis en besef, wat het hy geweet wat ander nie geweet het nie? Die res van die land moes voortsukkel om 'n probeer bestaan maak van dit wat oorgebly het. So ja, ek sal graag hoor wat julle sê daaroor. Maar dis my storie vandag oor Oom Paul en die Oom Paul shape. Savinelli, en ek rook 'n regte English blend in hom. So, dankie dat julle gekyk het, dankie for watching, en ek sien julle later weer. Bye bye.